Welcome then, team. This is a bit cozy, isn't it? This is the most people we've ever had in the podcast studio, and it might be the last time we're in the podcast studio because we're moving offices. So I thought it'd be great to get us all together and do a bit of a Christmas treat. The final podcast episode of 2024 for our coaches. We do have an episode coming out on Boxing Day, but our coaches festive episode is right now, and that's going to come to your ears before Christmas time. We're going to go straight into it. We don't need no inspiration because you've all been on the podcast before and you've all provided your inspiration. But what we wanted to do is go through our annual reflections, and we're going to kick off with our coach's highlight. I'm going to go down the order. So if you're not watching this on YouTube, then I'm going to start with Jethro, who's furthest away from me, and then go to Gemma, then I'm going to go to Kirsty, and I'll finish myself. And then we've got 4 questions to then alternate the starting order. So you have some thinking time if you're further down the line, but as the podcast goes on, Kirsty, you then obviously get less thinking time. So just bear that in mind. So 4 questions to 4 of our coaches, and I'm going to kick off with the coaching highlight from 2024. Over to you, Jethro.
No pressure to kick things off, and it's actually been a while since I've been on the podcast. So yeah, it's good to be back in here, and I can't believe it's been a year since we did this last year's coaching reflections. So it's been a really good year. And I think there's loads of like really proud moments as coach with some of the athletes that I've been fortunate to support across the last year. I'm gonna go with like a bit of a different one with my coaching highlight this year. I think one of the big things that I've really enjoyed is really making the most of the team that we have at NLC, and some of the most impactful conversations I've had of when I've like collaborated with another coach, whether that's been in that trail space, whether it's been in the marathon, and we've come up with a really good plan off the back of it. Particularly in the trail world, I think that's like a world that I've been fairly unfamiliar with, and it's been nice to go through that process and almost see that as a shared goal amongst the team. And Georgia, I'm sure she won't mind me calling her out, but actually it completes my set. So I've now supported athletes that have gone on to represent GB over all terrains, so road, track, cross country, and now mountain and fell. So that's a really cool achievement, and I think a real good coaching highlight from the year as well. And yeah, hopefully the other coaches appreciated it. So yeah, thank you, Lewis, Gem in particular.
Nice, a good one to kick us off. Yeah, it seems mad. That was like May this year.
Annecy. I know.
And the trial was April, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Crazy where that year's gone. It's not. I'll come on to my highlight, but I did highlight, we had a mindset session just last week, and my coaching highlight in the mindset session was different to the one I'm going to use here, but you'll understand why. But my coaching highlight was tied nicely to that as well, with James and Georgia heading out to Annecy for the Europeans. So big well done to them both. And yeah,
sorry if I stole yours then.
No, you didn't. I was changing tack anyway, so it's all right. But I feel like we might have a few crossovers here.
That's good.
Which is always good. It shows we co-collaborate, in the words of Matt Long. He loves a bit of co-collaboration. All right, Gemma, over to you. Try and keep it brief. Gemma.
I was going to say, do I only get one coaching highlight? I can just do a podcast to myself. Maybe we should do the Gemma Hillier-Moses podcast. Mine is actually a little bit different because, like Jeffrey said, it's been an incredible year, and it's actually hard to look back and just take kind of one moment or one highlight. So mine's going to be a little bit different in terms of we started a partnership with Paula Ratcliffe, and they say, don't meet your heroes. Do they say that? They say that? Somebody says that?
Some people do, yeah.
And actually, it's been an incredible year spending time with Paula and learning from her as well as an athlete and what she did as a marathon legend and former world record holder. And I think that's been a huge highlight for me because yes, we've known Paula for a long time, but actually to be having New Levels coaching in that partnership with her, spending quality time with her and learning about how she trained for the marathon and what advice she gives other people was a big coaching highlight for me. And I think I've learned a lot from her as a coach. And I think we already know this, but some of the conversations we had with Paula, I think people can overcomplicate training and running, and especially the marathon. They think there's a magic formula. And really, Paula kind of highlighted that she actually did a lot of the same things in her marathon build-ups, and that a lot of it was about training hard, really hard, but keeping it simple and recovering really well and not overcomplicating things. And I think that was a big learning for me, but something that other people could also learn from. So yeah, had a great time in Monaco when we went out and did some filming with her, and then we took a group of people out there for the Paula Radcliffe Marathon experience, and 2 of them actually personal best at the weekend in Valencia. So yeah, great experience and great kind of way to end the year.
Good one. Yeah, if you'd have said what's the most unrealistic thing that did happen in 2024, that maybe would have been it.
Yeah, never
bringing Paula
believed
on board.
it.
So yeah, a
So
great
cool.
addition. Yeah, very cool, and some nice memories as well. So yeah, good highlight. I'm now going to have the challenge of passing my mic to Kirsty. So over to Kirsty whilst I pass this. Let's try that.
So my coaching highlight for this year is around the triathlon, and being kind of having a few of my athletes that I coach, really helping them kind of develop in a sport that they've not necessarily been in. So yeah, a couple of them trying it for the first time, which was cool, and then having 3 athletes go out to the age group European champs in Spain and helping them and sort of, helping them deliver their best performances on the day. So, from a performance perspective, that was fantastic, and also being able to kind of help athletes get to the start line of a race that they've never even done before. So yeah, that's my biggest highlight of the year.
Nice. So do you know what I've realised about all these highlights so far? So Jethro's one, we did a podcast episode on that. Gemma's, we did a podcast episode with Paula live from where we were filming. Kirsty's, we did a recent podcast episode on with Jamie, who came on as an athlete special. So yeah, it's a nice trend there to it.
Does that just show that you're good at planning podcast episodes?
Maybe. I think...
Trying to give yourself a big up there.
No, but thanks for throwing me under the bus, Gemma. I think what it shows is we're very good at celebrating success at NLC, and we do celebrate success, but we get success in a range of different areas as well. So from triathlon to trails, to road, to marathons, and not just, like you say, Gemma, not just actual athlete highlights, also some other highlights within the business as well. Okay, that leaves it to me. Mine is a little bit different because mine isn't a achievement in a sense of it's not a personal best or a medal achievement, but mine is working with an athlete who just over a year ago, unfortunately, was hit with some really bad news, and it wiped out her marathon dreams in 2024. She was chasing her 6 stars down, and she wanted to get a couple more of those stars in 2024, but very quickly life was turned upside down. A couple of surgeries later, life-saving surgeries, may I add, and a full road to recovery. But my coaching highlight for 2024 is seeing Helen back on her feet and running again, because I think it's absolutely incredible what she's done. And to end this year, she's been asked to speak to consultants and to surgeons about the power of exercise and movement when it comes to particularly a cancer diagnosis and surgery and operations, and how physical activity and health can play such an important part when people are going through challenging times, which obviously resonates with ourselves really closely. And it's a message we preach about, and I still do some work with Move Charity, which is a charity Gemma founded. But I think it's brilliant to see Helen also embodying that and running with that quite literally. And sometimes your biggest achievements don't necessarily come on race day, and it would have been great to tick off those 6 stars, and I know they'll come in the future, but it also goes to show that sometimes you need your body to stand up for you when it really matters. And Helen, you have done an amazing job. So that is my coaching highlight for 2024. All right. Now on to the fun moments, picking out your fun moments or funniest memories or best memories of 2024. I'm going to now start with you, Gemma, in the middle. So it's going to go Gemma, Kirsty, myself, and Jethro. You get the thinking time this time. Okay.
So I was looking through our Instagram feed thinking, where are these fun moments? Lewis is a tough boss, We just work, there's no fun. No, there definitely is. Mine is I'm sure I wish I wrote them down after every camp, workshop or trip. I'm sure there was something really funny. And so next year I'm going to write it down so I'm fully prepared for this end of year podcast. However, I've taken more of a role in our marketing lead as a marketing lead this year. And we just formed a partnership with Sunto, and we were asked to produce some content to announce that partnership. And none of us are influencers and are great at recording our content. So we contacted Cam, the cameraman, who's been to our workshops and retreats. And we said, Cam, can you come and film with us at Beacon? But we're not going to stage this. We're actually going to get you to film while we do our session, which was 4 by 10 minutes on the trails and the hills at Beacon in Loughborough. So those of you who know, it's quite tough. Cam is 110. Is it 110? Yeah, 110 meter hurdler. I was like, is there 110? Hurdler. So doesn't really have the endurance background, and he won't mind me saying that. So we set up on our first rep, and we looked behind, and Cam was supposed to be on the bike, and he was nowhere to be seen, changing gears frantically, trying to keep up with our pace. And for the first 10 minutes, I think I saw him towards the end. And then for the rest of the session, we didn't really see Cam, and he'd gone to the wrong gate because he's not very good with his navigation skills. And I think he got about 30 seconds of footage, which we actually used for the announcement and our video footage. So kind of just to say the reality behind filming, but it was funny watching him try and bomb around Beacon, not very successfully, and trying to get our content. So that's my 2024 fun moment in a nutshell.
Well done for remembering the session as well. Good knowledge there. Yeah, to reel that off. But I also remember in the session, if you remember, we're not 100% certain, but it was around Halloween time. It was also around between October and November. It was also around harvest time. And at the Beacon, they'd put these scarecrows out, and they built them. They're really cool, and some were climbing trees, and some were stood, and some were walking the dogs. And every time I lapped round, I kept thinking I was seeing Cam, and then I realised it was just another scarecrow in the woods. So we saw a lot of scarecrows, but we didn't see much of Cam during that session.
But I think it shows you can stage footage, but we were like, why don't we be productive with this and get Cam to film us during our session? It's more authentic, it's more real if Cam can actually get to the spots that you need to get to.
Just don't capture as much as you might think.
But yeah, it did make me laugh, and that's kind of the story behind what you see on social media.
There you go. See, it turned out to be a good video though.
Yeah,
did his
exactly.
job. Yeah, don't need much, do you?
No.
All right, Kirsty, over to you for a fun moment. She said to me before we came in, you just made me work all year, so I've not got that many fun moments. Well, what's not fun about being in the office? So over to you.
I think Gemma's going to laugh at this one because I've been preaching about it all year around the cold water therapy stuff. And I think one of my funniest moments has to be us all in the Lake District on our second day, was it? Saturday? We went down to the local, was it a river? Yeah, it was a river. And we all did the kind of cold water immersion for 3 to 4 minutes. And just seeing all the coaches getting involved in that cold water, getting our heads dunked under, walking out, and really, really pushing the boundaries. But then when we got out the water, having to do this nice meditation-y type thing afterwards on the side, freezing cold, which I was then asked to deliver to the rest of the groups. It was quite funny. So
I think Kirsty should do it. Oh yeah.
You've not got a mic, Gemma, but just keep shouting. It'll work. Don't worry. Just shout. Gemma was going to ask Kirsty to reenact the moment. I'm glad she brought that in right at the end, because if you didn't, I was going to go there, because I hope she's not just going to mentor us getting in the water, because she's stood on the side. And I guess the best way to describe it, I would say, if you were looking from in the water to outside the water, watching Kirsty, it looked like she was doing, is it the All Blacks, the haka dance? It's like Kirsty was doing her own version of the haka on the outside of the river whilst everybody was freezing and just wanted to warm up. But apparently it was part of the process. So yeah, good fun. All right, Coach Jethro, over to yourself. Sorry, you've got a bit of time. It's me. Yeah, sorry. So I'm not going last every time. It gives me too much thinking time. Okay, fun moment from 2024. Jethro did a brilliant job at preparing what was our first NLC training camp in Portugal this year. And we went out to the sun, a little place called Aceiteias, which is between Vilamora and Albufeira. And around 13, 14 NLC members joined us out there for a nice week in the sunshine. Now, we had lots of discussions before we went out about what was the best way to manage this camp and to make sure that people do recover and have some nice downtime, because it's really easy to get carried away, especially in warm weather. And we wanted to make sure that they were recovering well between sessions, because we were going to give them quite a hard week. So Jethro planned in a recovery day in the middle of the week, and the discussions in the office were around, well, we need to plan something for them on that recovery day because people like things that are planned for them. In the end, we all agreed that it would be better for them to decide what to do in their recovery day, and we'd give them options, but ultimately they could decide for themselves and they can go off and do their own thing. So Jethro and I were left to our own devices too. I can't remember exactly what we did, but we had some downtime as well. One of the funny stories, which isn't the funnest moment, was Karen Henderson got locked on a balcony during this time, and Jethro had to come and save the day because she'd shut the balcony door behind her. But the funniest moment for me was getting back to the hotel and arriving by poolside to a lot of giggling NLC women over the other side of the pool. And we were in an all-inclusive hotel, so let's just say they were filling their boots in terms of the drinks that were on offer. But they'd also been down to a beach bar on their way to Villamora, and one drink had led to 2 drinks, 3 drinks had led to 4 drinks, and a nice walk back, and then they decided to finish off their drinks around the pool. So what was a nice recovery day turned into a bit of a NLC piss-up by the pool. Now, I went and sat with them, and it was quite obvious that they were very, very drunk and enjoying themselves in the sun. But it was not just a funny moment, it was a brilliant moment to see the camaraderie between the group, everybody just having a brilliant time, and they all still absolutely smashed the session the day after, so maybe there's something in it.
I was just about to say, it was just like our training trips at university when we used to go there, and
it brought back some memories.
The night before.
It brought back some memories. We were on our best behaviour. We didn't get involved in the antics. And your dad didn't go for the drinks. He just replaced the drinks with ice creams. So he had about 6 ice creams that day as well, which I'm not sure what's better for recovery, the ice creams or the alcohol. But yeah, that's my fun moment for 2024. Over to Jethro.
Yeah, they're 3 quite hard to beat. But Portugal was a fantastic trip, and it's always like it was a really good kind of like first camp for us to go out there. It's hard to look beyond Morzine. Morzine is like it really feels like the accumulation of everything that we do with new levels and runner retreats and that whole community and stuff. And those that have been on trips might know that often I'm tasked with creating little puzzles, little escape rooms, little treasure hunts, that kind of stuff. And I think particularly this year, the guys that came out on the trip really outdid themselves with the challenges. There was all sorts of ridiculous photos that in a bid to win and solve the puzzle, etc. So that was a lot of fun. The big thing from Morzine though that actually I enjoyed the most. Lewis and Gemma will laugh at this because every time I've joined them for a running session, I go out too hard, and normally by the end I'm in real trouble. But actually we managed to find some time out in Morzine to do a coach's session, and it went perfectly. Apart from Dave being the kind of competitive athlete he is, he kicked past on that last rep, so that was a lot of fun, and then we didn't let him live that down. So that was a good lot of fun, but it was just so nice to be out there with a load of coaches, a load of athletes, and in such an amazing setting.
Go on, Gemma, go on.
I was just going to jump in, and then my memory of that is Jethro leading out the session and us shouting, "God, Dave!" And we were in the session behind, but we were like cheerleading Dave to take you down on that last rep.
It's what is known in the running world as a last lap Larry. Dave was easing off the gas in the middle to come strong at the end, but he has a bit of a habit of this because the year before he did something similar in a swimming sense. He challenged everybody to like this stupid breaststroke race or something, didn't he? And he was like Ian Thorpe when he got in there. Michael Phelps, he was absolutely amazing. Yeah, and we were joking about testing his lactate. There's an interesting one. What would have Dave's lactate been at the end of that session? Because he for those of you who don't know Dave, he's our resident physiologist. He's physiologist over at Birmingham, and he's physiologist on these camps. He does a lot of lactate testing where he takes a blood sample which measures the lactate in the blood. And we've never actually tested his, and we joked about it being high on the swim the year before. What are you thinking for the running session, Jethro? Because he was all out to beat you, let's be honest.
No, I think he was good. It was funny anyway. It was funny.
I'm not going. I'm saying he was off the charts. 20, he was gunning it, absolutely gunning it. But yeah, really good memories, and lots of trips to come in 2025 as well. Mm-hmm. I hope you've enjoyed part 1 of the Cozy Coaches Christmas Special Cracker. That's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? But before we head into part 2, I just wanted to say a massive thank you again to Sunto, who sponsored the podcast for 2024. And we have one more episode left before we move into 2025. Remember, Sunto stands for adventure, and we are delighted to be sharing this adventure with them. I continue to use my Sunto Race S watch, and currently we have a big giveaway on social media where you too could be a lucky winner and win yourself a Sunto watch for you to start the new year in style. So if you've not already seen that, why not head over to our social channels and get entered and see if you can win yourself a nice new shiny Sunto. I'm particularly enjoying the Zone Sense feature, which I've mentioned a few times on the podcast. It's helping to inform my training, and I'm using it to my advantage as I put out faster and faster sessions. And I will put that training to the test on New Year's Eve, where I'll be racing a 5K, so you can check out how I'm getting on. I'm intrigued to see how Zone Sense has been helping me with my own training, because I am self-coached now, so it's nice to have a little bit of data to help inform my own training. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to go back over to the podcast. I hope you enjoyed part 2 as much as you enjoyed part 1. Okay, into part 2. So 2 more questions to come. We've been through 2. We've ticked off coaching highlight. We've ticked off fun moment. Now is about your biggest coach learning from 2024. So Kirsty, you're going to kick us off. It'll then come to me. It'll then go Jethro, and it'll then go to Gemma. So over to Kirsty.
Knock me out with the mic. So I think my biggest coach learning, not necessarily a learning that's surprised me over the year, or kind of not that I'm not doing it constantly, but I think really getting into the nitty gritty of long-term planning and helping the athletes kind of that I work with and that we work with here at NLC to buy into the long-term planning. And just documenting that better and enabling them to have more ownership on what they're doing throughout the year, and then also forward planning to the next year as well. I think especially in the world of triathlon and I guess in the world of trail running as well, when you're having to qualify for races in a year, 18 months time, it's really important that long-term planning becomes quite paramount and doesn't probably just happen once a year. It has to kind of be constantly looked at, reflected on, and changed if needed. So I think, just really getting into I think sharing my passion for the planning as well with the athletes and helping them to kind of get excited about it and plan their race season, but also the future seasons better.
It's a really good one. Jethro did a good podcast episode on that, and a lot of people still refer back to it to this day about A, B, and C goals and looking at that long-term plan. I'm not going to use it as my biggest coach learning, but you are right, particularly with big events now, half marathons, marathons, trail events and triathlons, not just planning ahead because you have to qualify, but how quickly a race is selling out, by the way. Like half marathons in the spring are just all gone. So maybe a learning for our athletes into 2025 is, get that long-term plan in, because you might need to book those races well ahead of time, because I've just noticed that they are selling out exceptionally quick, and running is very much booming, which is great, but it also presents us with some challenges. Okay, my biggest coach learning, I said they're all going to kind of overlap a little bit. Stems from the highlight that Jethro mentioned right at the start, is learning from one another. My biggest coach learning is that I guess from when I first got into the sport as a coach, you have all your own ideas and you think these ideas are kind of ingrained in you, and you have what we call a coach philosophy, and you think you need to stick to this coach philosophy because that's what you believe. But over the last year in particular, I would say my coaching philosophy has pretty much gone out the window, because I've realized that, yes, you have values as a coach and you have certain beliefs, but one philosophy doesn't fit every single athlete you work with. But also it's really good to share ideas and learn from other coaches. We have a really strong coaching team here at NLC, and as Jethro touched on, we can lean on each other at certain times and learn from each other. So my biggest coach learning for 2024 has been not being afraid to change my thinking and lean on some of our coaching team, as well as people external to NLC. I think firstly, you've got to go and understand it. And then you've got to apply it if you believe in it. And then the biggest challenge is getting the athletes you work with to also believe in that and making sure that they understand why you're making those changes. And I think looking back in the past, maybe I've made changes too quickly. You know, when we see things that we think work for other people, to give you an example, a double threshold model, for example, a Norwegian method of training that everybody seemed to dabble with at some point. Before really understanding that and how that can be applied in our setting in the UK, we kind of just threw that in, or I certainly threw it in just to try it. But now I understand it a lot more. I've also spoken to people about how they apply it here in the UK and also looked at how that works for my athletes in particular. My learning is it's not right for everybody, but it might have a place in certain people's programs. So I think making sure you're always trying to learn as a coach is massive. And I know Jethro has done a big job with our coach development, and that'll be something we look forward to in 2025. But even as athletes, don't be afraid to learn and learn from your coach. But yeah, take a lot of belief in the work that you're doing. So that's my biggest coach learning for 2024. All right, all the way to the other end, down to Coach Jethro.
No, that's a really nice bridge. You kind of maybe stole some of the things that I was going to maybe talk about, but yeah, I think it's really important, and I think you're right. We're in such a unique environment within this NLC space that we've got such a depth of knowledge across the team that we can really lean on. I'm going to go with my coach learning from this year is maybe a little bit linked to what Lewis was talking about, but it was actually about like session creativity. I think I've been a bit more relaxed with, or a bit more creative with the types of sessions that I have been coming up with, and I think that's been really useful for two reasons. I think one, from a location standpoint, and two, especially when athletes have got multiple goals over different distances, different terrains, and they need to almost like operate a bridge between those two. And I think it's been really impactful this year to fully understand and appreciate what do you want to get out of a session, or what do you want to get out of a run, and then how can you be creative and make it fun, make it interesting, keep it fresh for the athlete, rather than necessarily going over your go-to sessions in that regard. So it's been good. It's been a lot of fun, and I think it's definitely opened my eyes in terms of how creative you can be in order to still elicit a different or very similar response out of that session that you're really looking to target. So yeah, we'll go with creativity as something that has been much more utilised this year.
That's a really good point, because you could speak to a physiologist or another coach and they would say, there's only so many ways you can spin a session. If you're looking to do 30 minutes of threshold work, then the classic, 5 by 6 minutes or 6 by 5 minutes with 1 minute recovery, for example, might be a classic threshold session. But then comes the element of making training enjoyable for the people that are undertaking the training plan.
Although I would add, a few of my athletes have called me out and said that session is really hard to remember, so can you not do that one again? So like maybe that's another coach learning, but at least they've been interested enough. But yeah.
Keeps them on the toes.
Exactly.
And the beauty of having Final Surge is that we can build the workouts for them, so they can download the workout to the watch and just get cracking with it. So a bit of a plug for Final Surge there. So Tim and the team at Final Surge do a great job at helping us, and they've now got that link to Coros, and we're going to get it linked to Sunto as well. So a bit of a shout out to our Sunto users. All right, Gemma, over to you. Biggest coach learning from 2024, please.
Yep. So my biggest coach learning is around building relationships with athletes. And I think that's probably one of the most important things and responsibilities we have as coaches. And I think the reason why is because you can give somebody the most amazing training plan, or you think that they're in this shape because of the training they delivered. But each and every one of us have different things that make us tick, that we struggle with, that we thrive on. And actually, if an athlete allows us as coaches to really get to know them and their personalities, then that's where I've seen the biggest success. And they have to let us in. Some athletes might not let us in as much as we want, but we don't just write the training plan. We're trying to understand their lifestyle, their family time, their work, everything around the training. So in order to do that, we have to have the relationship. And I think that that's where I've seen the biggest success. And often that means when they build that relationship with you, they often allow you to have the time so that they fully can listen to you and trust that process. And I think that when athletes don't necessarily trust the process or try and dictate their training too much, that's when things actually start to go wrong. And you see it more and more and more that, if somebody tries to steer their training in a certain direction, that's not really what you as a coach would do. There's a bit of give or take, but actually that's when things start to go wrong. And we have this conversation sometimes, like Lewis, obviously you coach me, and sometimes I want to jump in with an opinion, and you're just like, just let me do the thinking. Because actually as a coach, we look long, like you were both talking about long-term planning. We look very logically at the training plan. You spend hours thinking about what's going to get that person to help them perform and achieve their goals. Whereas often as athletes, we think quite emotionally about things, and we only think day to day, week to week. And so actually sometimes it's kind of saying, leave us to do the thinking, build that relationship with us so we know where you thrive and where you struggle, and let us help you in all aspects of that, of your running, not just what's put down on final surge.
Yeah, and I think the personality thing's massive, because you can sometimes help the athlete to understand that as well. So let's say, for example, they've had a bad run. It's after a marathon. That's a classic. This weekend, Valencia, some people had great performances, some people didn't. And then even at the meal afterwards or the day after, people are talking very emotionally about their performance. But helping them to understand that, as you've just mentioned, is a really important part of coaching, to say, look, let's maybe have this discussion later on in the week when emotions aren't as high, especially if you know the personality of that person is very emotional.
Well, I think as well, if you've been on that journey, so it could be 3 months, it could be a year, it could be 2 years with the athlete, and they've allowed that relationship with you as a coach to develop, you're better prepared to have those conversations and help them post-marathon, whether they've had a good or bad, than if actually you haven't developed that. And it's, that's why that time needs to be taken from both athlete and coach to be able to do that.
Yeah, no, it's a really, really good point. Just to finalise this point, biggest coach learning, I'm going to throw something in there that ties in a biggest coach learning with a bit of a fun moment, and it's a bit of a logistical learning. So one of our learnings from Valencia Marathon at the weekend is never let Gemma book your accommodation for you and the family. So what Gemma did is she booked an apartment, which was a lovely apartment, by the way, right near the start, lovely place in Valencia. We were sharing with Gemma's parents. We get to the apartment, go in, looks all swanky, quite modern. And Gemma's staring at me. I can see she's staring at me thinking, Lewis, you're quite disappointed here. Why are you so disappointed? This looks really nice. Like, this is a really plush apartment. What she hasn't realised is I was absolutely fine with being on the sofa bed in the front room. That was absolutely fine. But what she hadn't clocked was that the bathroom was the only bathroom in the apartment, and that was in her mum and dad's room.
We're a close family.
That's fine. But I tend to go to the toilet every single night during the night. So that, for me,
too far.
posed a few problems. We won't go into any more details around that, but that was a fun moment and a very logistical learning from 2024. So I will be booking my own accommodation moving forward as we go into 2025.
Or just check where your bathrooms are.
Which links us quite nicely onto what we're most excited about in 2025. Mine is going to be having my own bathroom. But no, it's not going to be having my own bathroom. It is me to kick off, though, isn't it? It's going to be myself, then it's going to go to Jethro, then it's going to go to Gemma, and we're going to finish off with Kirsty. Most excited about in 2025. This, for me, was probably my easiest category today. So I'm most excited about getting back to UTMB in 2025. I didn't pick it as one of my highlights. I didn't pick it as one of my fun moments. It was very, very close. But getting back out there in August next year, I just cannot wait for it. We've got more NLC athletes going out there. It seems like everybody and anybody is out there. And this year was our first real experience out there as a coach and as an athlete. So not only will I have more athletes out there, we will have more of a team presence out there as well. And it's just an unbelievable week in the most inspirational location. And I think what's excited me the most about it is the potential. I just feel like we work with a number of athletes who have huge potential there. And I've set myself some big coaching goals over the last couple of years, and I feel like I'm getting closer towards those goals. So it'll be interesting to see how we get on. The biggest thing for people who are going out there is pretty much everybody has set themselves kind of a new challenge. So Gemma in the middle there is gonna go up a distance. Then Ailsa, who I also coach, hopefully if she gets in the lottery, that'll be her biggest race to date. I've got another athlete who I coach, Bertie, who's on the elite start line. That's the first time he's been on the elite start line out there. So it's also a new challenge for pretty much every athlete I've got personally going out there, which also adds a little bit of excitement and the potential to learn a lot more. So that's my most excited for 2025. Jethro.
This is a really hard one, actually, because there's so much to look forward to next year. And yeah, particularly with some of the plans that we've been discussing across the last couple of months, there really is so much potential for where NLC can go. I'm really excited from like a coach development point of view. I think everything that you've heard in this podcast so far has been how much we've really valued that and seen the power of a team over an individual, I suppose. And I think I'm really excited to get more involved in that space and to be putting, really, really kind of upskilling us as much as possible. I think it's cool. There's some new initiatives that we're bringing in next year. So like the abilities that we're going to be supporting some more like high performance athletes out of the NLC space and giving them some support and really like looking after those kind of sub-elite athletes that are still trying to make it in the sport, but, are not quite at that level yet. And I think that's going to be fantastic. And they're all athletes that we know well, that we've been supporting in the past. And then actually the final thing that I am really looking forward to next year is that like I've got a really exciting roster of athletes that I've been working with now for a very long time, and a little bit linked to what Gemma was talking about earlier, in that you are as a coach most effective when you know that athlete really well. And so I've got a load of athletes that are heading into London Marathon next year, where we're 20 weeks away now, and it's already exciting about what we're gonna get started with. It should be a really exciting track season next year for a lot of the guys that I work with that are going on the track. Again, there's very few fresh faces, lots of people that we've been together now for several years. So look, it's nice because a lot of the time it feels like a big accumulation of all that time, all that energy and the journey, I suppose. So yeah, that was really greedy because I think that was 4 things to look forward to in 2025. But
all linked to one point though.
Yeah, for sure.
Of working with people for longer means like you're more excited about that future with them, and I think that's a really good point.
And that's not to say new athletes you're not excited by, but I think we probably all agree like that it's those really special moments with an athlete is when you've been through so much together. Because ultimately, you've probably that's when the impact or the optimization or whatever it is you do as a coach to support and maximize the performance of or whatever they want, whatever that athlete wants out of the event. That's the most fulfilling thing, and ultimately that's why we're in this, right? For fulfillment. So yeah.
Great one. Really good one,
Cool.
Jeth. Gemma can resonate with that because she says that to me every year on our anniversary. She says, God, the longer we go together, the more I look forward to being together.
There's a time when it goes downhill as well, You'll be like, I've been in this too long now. No, I'm only joking.
Over to you, Gemma. But before you do, actually, what I am really impressed with is the fact you've brought a page of A4 notes into this podcast with you. So those of you not watching,
you're not
Gemma,
supposed to highlight that.
Gemma has been super prepared here, and yeah, it's good to go off the cuff. But you've given this attention to detail. I like it. It's good. It's good.
I do have a bit of detail in me. No, the reason why is because like you're asking about the whole year, and I can't even remember what I did yesterday. So God, it's been a busy week, and I was on a spa day yesterday, which was very relaxing. So I've forgotten everything. Okay, so what's the question? What are we most excited about in 2025? So I'm going to tie mine back to my coaching highlight, and I am most excited to kick off 2025 with our Paula Ratcliffe Marathon Workshop. And the reason why I'm excited about that is because of everything I spoke about in the first coaching highlight, but also because I think we've been through a journey with Paula through our Paula Ratcliffe Marathon Academy this year, and we created a 12 steps to marathon success with Paula Ratcliffe, and her 12 steps and everything behind it is so valuable. And I just want everybody to be able to experience like what she says, her wisdom and advice, and then how we pull that as a team as well from our coaching experience. And I think that, I'm really excited for her to bring her to bring Paula to Loughborough, us as a team to be able to share that knowledge and inspiration to help people run their best marathons, because I think it's so valuable. So yeah, really excited about that kicking off, and that's kicking off on the 5th of January, and we still have spots available as well. So see what I've done there.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I can see what you've done. I think our audience can tell you work in marketing now, because like every point that you've made today has been linked somewhere to partners and marketing, and yeah, you've subtly dropped it in there, but then you kind of let the cat out of the bag at the end by saying, have you seen what I've done? But no.
Yeah, no, but it is like, I mean, it's really valuable stuff, and I'm really excited to launch that in January.
Yeah, I agree. I can't wait. And it comes fast after the after New Year. But the reason for that, people might be thinking, God, that's come quick after New Year. Jethro has just quite rightly pointed out, it's about 20 weeks now to London. It's 16 weeks exactly, I think, on the day we do that workshop. Not that we intentionally did that, by the way. We may have done. But 16 weeks till London Marathon and Manchester Marathon. And also a couple of other marathons that happen on that day, one on the trails that I might be doing. So there's a lot of, I think the Shakespeare Marathon also might be that day. So lots of big marathons happening at that point in time, plus Boston and things like that the week before. So lots and lots going on in the spring to look forward to, but we kick off on January the 5th. Have I got that right? Yeah. January the 5th. All right, Kirst, what are you most excited about in 2025?
So touching on what Jethro mentioned earlier around kind of working with those longer term athletes and having them on your roster for quite a number of time, but also so that has been fantastic, and having quite a few of them within the team that I coach, but having those new athletes join as well, and the energy that they bring, and both them combined with those athletes that have been on for a while into that community that we've created with New Levels. And just, I'm most excited about seeing that grow over the next year. It's kind of, it's like that snowball effect at the minute. It's so lovely to see it all. Everyone's, so supportive of each other, especially in the WhatsApp group that we've got with our team, and it's just lovely to see. And I think that's what I'm most excited about in 2025.
Nice. Well, I like the fact you've linked that back to Jethro's point, because Jethro also mentioned a word, performance, but we've kind of gone with a two-pronged approach to 2025 with the community element and the performance element. And if we look at it from a pyramid shape, the community is very much our base, and that we access the community in a number of different ways, and that is only growing as we go into 2025. So you've highlighted a really good point, Kirsty. And for those of you who maybe want to get involved with our community, don't forget we have things like the free track nights, which you can come and access and find out a little bit more about the NLC community, where our coaches deliver some exceptional sessions. And we have one on December the 20th.
Yeah, Loughborough.
And we've got True Motion coming down to that as well, so people can trial the shoes. But again, there's a free access point there to the NLC community. But we also have the New Levels Run Club, which is, you can join first or second claim. It is an England Athletics affiliated running club. And I believe, fingers crossed, we might have a London Marathon ballot place for next year, which would be incredible too. So there's another kind of point of contact within our community. And then we have training plans, and we also have one-to-one coaching. So loads of different options there to get involved. But it might be that you just enjoy listening to these podcasts, and that also classes as being part of this ever-growing community, which is why I think it is good to get excited about that, and why we want to reach a lot more people, because it's not just about coaching people one-to-one, it's about providing our knowledge and our inspiration and that education to people that can benefit from it in some way. And there's nothing better than going out to like Valencia or wherever we are and people saying, oh, listen to the podcast. That for me is like the power of that community. So a really good one there, Kirsty. But right at the top of it, Jethro mentioned the performance element as well. We are going to support a few more performance athletes in 2025, which I'm very excited about too. So hopefully you'll see the NLC vest a little bit more visible at the front end of races, particularly some of the big races here in the UK. And I do want to give a shout out to our partners Run Through as well, if we've partnered with in 2024, because they've got a fantastic race series and they give us a lot of access to their races. And we're going to have some big NLC meetups at some some of the run-through races as well. So whether you're a performance athlete or whether you're part of NLC or not, if you are at those run-through races, then come and say hi, because we'll have a big New Levels coaching presence there, and we'd love to get to meet more and more people as the year goes on. So yeah, that's a nice place to round it off. Good one, Kirst. Well, thank you, team. I feel like that was pretty good and quite concise as well. You've all done a pretty good job. To finish,
wow, one more point.
Yeah, Gemma. Finally, to wrap things up, we've had a festive day in the office. We're going to celebrate with some Christmas food. We're going to go and do a Christmas escape room. It's not to get out of this podcast studio, although it feels like we need to. And we're going to end the year in style. And I guess one final message from me, and I'm going to ask for a final message from each of our coaches. I'll kick us off. Is I just want one Christmas tip for the athletes at home. One Christmas tip. And my Christmas tip is very simple. Only run on Christmas Day if you want to run. Or only train, I should say, on Christmas Day if you really want to train. You don't have to train on Christmas Day. It doesn't make you the best athlete in the world. It doesn't make you better than anybody else. If you want to get out there and exercise, go and exercise. But if you want to just spend time with family, friends, or whoever that might be, then you're fine to do that too. But putting an activity on Strava isn't going to make your 2025. So I want to get that one out there. Who am I going to go to? Gemma, you've got a mic in front of you, so I'm going to go to you next.
I wasn't quite ready. Okay, my Christmas tip is balance is everything. So if you want that mince pie, go and have that mince pie.
I thought you were going to stand on one leg there. And balance is everything on a strength and conditioning note. Kirsty, I'm going to hand over to you. Oh, with the mic.
So my Christmas tip is do it or don't do it. So if you're going to go for a run, go for a run, and don't feel guilty about going out there. You know, take it, own it. If you don't go for a run, that's fine, absolutely fine. Yeah, do it or don't do it. Don't be that halfway house.
Nice,
like it. Jethro, over to you.
God, I'm really scratching my head here. We'll come up with something. Look, Christmas is a great time to kind of, you know, really chill out, spend time with family. So, you know, make the most of whatever your situation is at Christmas. Generally, the first presents quite a nice time for you to reframe your goals and stuff. But equally, the work doesn't stop. So, you know, as we've said, have a nice balanced Christmas, and we'll see you in the new year.
Yeah, I like that. New year doesn't always mean new you. It just means it's just upgrading yourself. And if you want to train over the Christmas period, you can do. We're racing on New Year's Eve, so people might be racing as well. There's lots going on and lots to look forward to. But we will see you back in 2025. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast episode to round off 2024. Big thank you to you, coaches. Very well done. Yes, that was magnificent. A coaches roundtable with a bit of a twist. And we hope you've enjoyed all the episodes in 2024. A big thank you again to Sunto, who are partners of the pod, for the remainder of 2024. We do have one episode left, which is a bit of a spine race special, which will come out on Boxing Day. We will see you all again in 2025. If you are racing over the festive period, best of luck. And if you are keeping up your training, then enjoy it as always. See you all again very, very soon.